What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. My name is Ryan Lickler. Today, we are talking about the 49ers acquiring Bryce Huff and why this team might have struck gold this offseason in their plan. Now, the two latest moves this week include a Brock Purdy massive contract extension and then them trading for their rivals edge rusher Bryce Huff. Huff ultimately signed a 3-year, $51 million contract with the Philadelphia Eagles this past offseason. He had 2 sacks, not necessarily a big-time producer for this team. I was expecting him to take on a bigger role with Josh Sweat heading to the Arizona Cardinals, but ultimately this team moves on with him after 1 year. Now he is entering the second year of his 3-year contract, and he's heading over to the 49ers, who needed another edge rusher outside of Nick Bosa. They also added Michael Williams during the draft, but it looks like there are some theories that he could be playing interior and edge for this team heading into next year, which will be very fascinating considering the fact he's an elite talent wherever you put that guy. I think the 49ers, despite what a lot of people think, have completely revamped this team. They have gotten younger on the defensive side of the ball. They've let veterans walk that are probably past their primes, and they've been very smart about their money to this point. We all know they had to pay Brock Purdy. They took care of that, and they paid their guy. And I think the 49ers are more set up for success than when they started the offseason. Let's take a look at some of their key departures, key additions right now heading into this year before we break down why Bryce Huff can significantly help this team. You take a look at this, the departures they have. We all know that Deebo Samuel got traded, had that trade request. He's on the Commanders now. You have Aaron Banks. He left in free agency. He is now a Green Bay Packer. Leonard Floyd, who was with the team for a little bit, had a really tough last season, didn't provide the edge presence the 49ers needed, walked in free agency. They let that guy go. Charvarius Ward was a longtime member of this team on Super Bowl teams and ultimately just not the same player, and he had a lot of trauma this past season for the 49ers, so it made sense for both sides to move on. Hufanga left in free agency for the Denver Broncos. Before the injury, absolute playmaker on the backside of the defense, but after the injury, definitely not the same type of player that you had before that. And then you have Jalen Moore, who signed with the Chiefs, who was a high upside backup tackle, was a interesting player to see what happened in free agency, but it looks like he was going to go all along. And then you had Dre Greenlaw, longtime 49er linebacker, ending up in Denver, and it looks like he's already struggling with some injury concerns as well. And then you take a look at the other side of things, the additions this team made. We already alluded to Bryce Huff getting traded to the team today. You had guys in the draft like Michael Williams that we already talked about, really young, athletic edge rusher who can play interior, outside. He's a very high upside prospect. I love that pick. And then they went and addressed the interior defensive line, which is a big hole for this team last season. Javon Hargraves, another guy that they let walk ultimately. And then you have Alfred Collins in there and Nick Martin, two really solid players. Collins is more of that run stuffing type, while Martin has a ton of production in the interior defensive line, making a ton of sacks. Upton Stout is a high upside, smaller school cornerback that I really liked coming out. And then Connor Colby was a 7th round pick in the offensive line, but works very well in a Kyle Shanahan type scheme. Ultimately, we saw this team make very strategic moves, letting some of these veterans walk and adding some of these younger, high upside players to help make this 49ers team a contender once again. Now I want to hop into the film and show you guys why Bryce Huff can be a significant addition next to Nick Bosa on this defense. All right, here's one play here where you see Bryce Huff down on the bottom of your screen absolutely bully the right tackle here. Quick stiff arm to the face, little forced fumble right there of Cooper Rush, causing a big-time splash play. And this play looks like the Cowboys season and the Eagles season summed up in one play. Let's break this down, show you why Bryce Huff has an elite bag of pass rush moves as a speed rusher here. What you're going to see here is it's not necessarily the leverage for him in this position and the speed to the outside that allows him to win. He's able to use a quick drop step right there, plant his feet, use his hands as his leverage point, and beat the right tackle quickly as an inside move, allows him to quickly swipe through, allowing a free ability to hit the quarterback. And luckily for him, his hand hits right where Cooper Rush is trying to throw. Rush has pretty poor recognition of this play. Huff gets a big-time play, forcing a forced fumble and an absolute dominating performance by the Eagles defense. Another rare play here where Bryce Huff here at the bottom of your screen has a highlight for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to work through a double team and a chip from the running back there, able to beat the right tackle off the edge, forcing a big-time sack of Danny Dimes here on third down. What you're going to see here is him use his leverage to the outside. Let's scroll back right to this point. As soon as this guy chips right here, the running back, I'm pretty sure that's Singletary, chips Huff. At this point, bad leverage, able to work the tackle into a very easy block. Huff is able to move hands quickly, work to the outside. Danny Dimes doesn't have his first read there, and Huff is able to make a big-time sack. Let's move into some highlights from his Jets career. During his time with the Jets last season, or 2 seasons ago, he had 9 sacks and ultimately was a force off the edge for the Jets, earning himself that nice deal from the Eagles. You're going to see him lined up over here on the right side of your screen, and the Jets are going to bring a blitz call, but what impresses me on this play is his ability to quickly beat the right tackle and force a big-time sack of Tua on this play. Looks like this film is in a little bit of slow motion, but that's not going to stop us from watching Bryce Huff absolutely bully this right tackle, move past him, get a big-time sack of Tua right there, and that kind of showcases his ability to win with speed. You see at this position right here, he uses his hands again and his leverage to work quickly past the tackle, allowing himself to work quickly to the quarterback, and that'll bode well with Nick Bosa, 2 elite speed rushers off the edge. Now, the final reason that Bryce Huff is not a big-time name, the pass rusher we all talk about, all that type of good stuff, is his run defense is just not good. It's kept him off the field his whole entire NFL career, and I think this play does a good job of highlighting like what he does in the run game that hurts him. His goal is to just get the quarterback every time, right? Works out very well in passing situations, but you're going to watch in a play like here where he gets way too far upfield, creating a big-time running lane, and even old Zeke back here is able to get himself a nice gain because look at Bryce Huff is gone, and there is a massive gap our grandmas can run through. So Bryce Huff needs to learn just to be more fundamentally sound in the run game if he wants to become a 3-down player. But ultimately, the 49ers are getting this guy because he's a pass rusher. They need another pass rusher next to Nick Bosa, and that's what he's going to provide, not that run stuff, 3-down edge rusher that a lot of people are looking for. I just showcased how Bryce Huff, can work really well next to Nick Bosa, not necessarily as a consistent 3-down player, but being that opposite edge rusher that makes offenses have to at least scheme and figure out protections opposite of Nick Bosa instead of being able to double and triple team him off the edge. Huff can absolutely be that guy, and he's a cheaper option compared to what they could have got. And right now, I still think there are moves that the 49ers can make. I talked about some of the additions they have made on the defensive side of the ball, but there are moves that they could still make. Here are the free agents available that I think they're enticing for the 49ers. They still have $51 million in cap space, and they still have a little bit of needs on the defensive side of the ball. A few positions that I highlighted on the defensive side, safety, cornerback. I didn't put edge rusher on here because it really feels like they've added a ton of defensive linemen, but I wouldn't even rule out Von Miller potentially taking a look at the 49ers and being another rotational edge for this team. And then I added another linebacker as well. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they have wide receiver and right guard. Now, ultimately, I'm going to talk about each of these players, but I feel like these are the players that I feel like would make sense for this 49ers team. I'll start with the offensive players. Brandon Sheriff, longtime guard, could potentially fill in for this team. I think they need a little bit more depth in that position. I think Pooney's very good, but outside of that, I think they could use a little bit more veteran presence. At the wide receiver position, we don't know when Brandon Ayuk is officially going to be back. I think adding Amari Cooper for depth isn't the worst thing in the world by any means. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Kendall Fuller, Asante Samuel Jr., I think would fit really well within Robert Saleh's scheme and ultimately make some big-time plays. And then you have Julian Blackmon and Justin Simmons. Both of these are different types of safeties. Simmons is the over-the-top ball hawk type safety, a veteran looking for a 1-year deal, while Julian Blackmon is coming off a career year for the Indianapolis Colts and can be a higher upside guy for a cheaper contract. And then Eric Kendricks, a lot of you guys know him already, veteran linebacker still available. I think he would fit very well next to Fred Warner and be more of that run guy for this defense, which they desperately need another guy. They can go out and get 1 to 2 more of these guys and still have that financial flexibility that they aspired to when they went into this offseason. And that was the biggest thing that the 49ers went into this offseason with. How can we pay Brock Purdy a ton of money, rebuild this defense, and then also compete in the 2025 season? And I think they've done a masterful job of doing that with this offseason plan. Ultimately, though, it is going to be very interesting to see how they compete in the tough NFC West as the Rams have completely geared up. We've seen the Seahawks change their team, and the Cardinals made some good additions on the defensive side of the ball. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of the 49ers offseason plan and if they officially have struck gold with these low-key offseason moves. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Blitz Sports Media content, and I will catch you guys next time.